Hey there, I'm Pops, and I'm going to talk about Andor, episode 12, final, wrapped up. The finale was last week. I was on vacation, so I want to talk about that, and I'll talk about the show. Doing this very quickly, just going to give you guys the full treatment of I watch it so you don't have to. Episode 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 are sort of like their own little sub stories, and then it kind of moved into the last half of the season with 7. So 1, 2, and 3 is Andor had committed a crime. He got jumped by some guards, ended up having to kill them, and then spends 2 episodes getting off planet, raising some money, has this item to sell, meets someone, turns out to be a character named Luthen. And then Luthen wants him for a heist, so puts him on a planet to pull off this heist to steal millions of Imperial credits. And then gets arrested when he goes on like a beach resort. And then 8, 9, 10, you start to get this incredible prison story, which was by far the best episodes in the series. And the prison break is episode 10. Then it slowed down quite a bit in episode 11 to set this up because basically his foster mom, Marva, has passed away, and he is expected to go there to be part of the funeral traditions. And everyone's going there, which is kind of one of the weirdest parts of the episode. So it opens very quickly on this guy who's building something. Then it cuts, and you have sort of like these Imperial shuttles landing. You see a couple that are in the background here on Ferrix, and it's Deidre Marrow. She's basically the Empire's representative to try to track down not just Andor. He's her lead, but more importantly, Luthen, who is nicknamed Axis by the Empire. So she arrived. You see just some general stuff here. Not too bad. This is Bix. Bix is Andor's love interest. She's been captured, flushed out on Ferrix as having ties to Andor, and then interrogated with this office chair and headphones, which I don't know. Some people loved it all, thought it was great. I thought it could be shot completely different. It would have been better. It is good to see the Empire torturing people and understanding some of those dynamics, but it's hard to believe a couple of years from New Hope when we used a office chair. So she checks and then to be Andor in, which of course she falls for the bait. You have his friend here in the back, this big guy, and they're all preparing for Marva's funeral services of some kind. And there's some conversations and back and forth about where is Andor, is he coming or not coming? And this black guy is acting odd. This is the guy that Andor reached out to, so he knows a lot more than he's leading on. So that's what it leads up. And then we cut back to Mon Mothma, and they have this scene in there with their driver. And the backstory of Mon Mothma is that she is the financier of Luthen's activities as this budding rebellion, and therefore is kind of under scrutiny. And there's scenes in the Senate where no one's paying attention to her, and those kinds of things, which I think are fine. The problem is there's really no other real backstory. The only thing that involves she has an estranged kind of marriage. She has this kind of rebellious teenage daughter. The daughter is coming of age based on their traditions. And this money that she has spent on the rebellion, 400,000 credits, is coming under scrutiny, or could come under scrutiny. And they interview a couple of other players on all of this. They have lots of conversations, and they're going to basically betroth their daughter for the money, which is how the episode ends. This is the fact that they know that the driver can't be trusted. So they fake that the husband has a gambling problem. They go, we want privacy, but they don't really get privacy. So on Ferrix, these are the 2 characters that were involved in the heist. They're a couple. I think it's Cinta and Vel. Vel was the mastermind, or kind of the team leader for the heist. They're there staking out this funeral area in Ferrix. They work for Luthen. They're there to basically kill Andor, which is cool because neither character has shown much ability to, especially Val, hasn't shown any ability to kill someone like Andor. This is Bix. in jail. And Luthen arrives, which we'll get to. Why does that even make any sense to anyone that Luthen's going to show up? Here's Andor. He's there on the planet. This is them with their hologram version of the town, planning their activities. And it's like 16 minutes in, you start to see the troopers showing up. You see the different activities of the Empire. This is the other black guy. This is Mira's co-worker, and basically getting the information from the driver that Mon Mothma and the gambling and that kind of thing. So people really like this Imperial guy here in the foreground, and some of these different characters. To me, they're just faceless Imperial people. We do at least get some cool ships and things like that. He has this speeder, so Luthen's going to, go into town. Okay, so you have basically just the lead up to this funeral process. The Imperials think they have a lot longer, and basically it's them knowing that they're going to move things along a lot faster. Let's see. It's just general interactions. So we're like 20 minutes. So people love this episode. They how great the show is, whatever. Talk about slow burn. This is where he gets into a slow burn, because then you have this like musical band procession, which goes on like forever in a day. It's not as long as it feels, but it's way too long. It's like minutes after minutes and minutes of people, and literally just nothing's happening. Just people just walking around. Andor's walking and that kind of thing. They're just kind of setting up that everybody's there, but it's like 5 minutes. And now we're on the 6 minutes before things happen. Now, the other thing that happens is, get to this next shot. There's this guy who's named Inspector Karn. He is a character that was in charge of security back in episodes 1, 2, and 3 when things went sideways, because he had been obsessed. And I say obsessed because he was breaking rules to try to catch whoever was behind the murder of those guards. But this is that procession that goes along with music. And you have these troopers that are going door to door, so you're building up some tension. I will say, once you got into the activity here, this actually works pretty well. And then you get to the hologram of Marva. Right? And Marva's hologram, and really the best part of the entire episode, because being an anti-M is fantastic. So this is the from and you have this is the robot, this is their droid, and they're listening to this hologram. So this is the kid that was making the device earlier in the episode. Losing on one test because it just keeps getting worse. And there's the hologram from Marva, and she's basically just trashing, and basically, the Empire is here. Andor's not paying any attention to any of this, by the way. He's there to get Bix, so he's got to get Bix. We have to get Bix out, so he's there to get Bix. So he's ignoring all of this, and then once the riot starts, because obviously Marva's thing is out of, you see all running. That's a run into the smoke, and just they're taking on the Empire, the Imperial troops, and it's really, really good. Actually, that part's really, really good. Now, during that fight, Miro gets knocked down, nearly killed, and she's rescued by Karn. And then you have just all this chaos breaking out. This is their escape. So Andor's got his escape, and he gets them on board, and then he leaves and goes to meet Luthen, and that's how the episode ends. Oh, this was the formal scene with betrothed the daughter. This is him interacting with Luthen. Holds the guns, and basically says, take me in or make me a part of things. And then we'll have this last little credit scene with the droids, and what could they be building? They're of course building the Death Star, which is what which we kind of knew. All right, so episode 12, it was fine. It's there are people who want to give this show like an 8.5, and it's just, to me, it's just absurd. The writing is so, and I say slow, and listen, there's a difference between slow burn and slow and unnecessary content. You have to scene after scene of scenes that don't matter. and I want to try to go through some of the thoughts on this. So, for instance, what is Mon Mothma's story arc? Mon Mothma's story arc is she's trying to finance the rebellion. She's trying to, let's just presume she's trying to make a difference, even in the Senate. She's being ignored. She's finding out how ludicrous that's getting through a couple scenes. But you have all of her content, all of her scenes, all of it is basically about this money moving around and whether or not she's going to get caught or not. Nothing else in her story has any real significance in the grand scheme of things. It does create some tension. It does create some authenticity to Mon Mothma's backstory. But to pretend that it's something of any more depth than that, I mean, half of what they asked Genevieve O'Reilly, who's the actress, to do is just stand around and make faces. She has these stoic lines or slightly irritated lines, and that's the extent of it. There's nothing else there. I want to try to make sure I pulled up some of the cast, like make sure I don't forget anybody. Inspector Karn doesn't need to be a part of the show. Like he's Miss Ellen is the Inspector Karn guy. So listen to that photo. Never mind. Let me get rid of that. Because I want to make sure you guys understand some more context of what I wanted to share. So he was in charge of security, the police investigation, basically. When let me come down. Yeah, this guy. Okay. So in episode 3, he goes with the troops with the fat Imperial officer guy, and he's basically like, fat troll, right? Hey, Ryan, I see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing all right. Yeah, I know, man. It was easier to do a stream than to do a video and upload it and do all that. So I'll just do it as a stream. I set things up so they'll go to the playlist, thumbnails there. It's just done. And then I'm done with this video. So when we're done, because it won't be a whole lot longer than this. And then when I'm done, I'm going to go on to another video. I'm trying to get caught up because I was off for a week. So the character had some weight of being an idealist and wanting to do this investigation to bring some justice. And they have this battle, and you have this fat bastard troll guy who has all of the weight of the soldiers behind him. And this guy is just an office paper pusher who wants to be part of the action and catch his guys. Everything turns sideways, and there's this shell-shocked scene of him. Now, in my opinion, what they should have done was have him actually die, have him actually be heroic for a moment at the end of the scene, like have another explosion or something, and he saves the fat bastard guy, because the fat bastard guy can actually act. Like, he's actually really good. This guy is just irritating. They just make him as this beta guy who just goes around. He's obsessed with the new inspector. Let's see if I could find a picture. This article's way out of order. I don't know why they have the characters listed this way. There she is. So this is who so she's the one that is going to run the inspection for the Imperials. And she's just girl boss. She's nasty, witchy, unlikable, trying to scratch her way to the top, woman in a man's world and all that kind of stuff. But at the end, he's where we have to have this you're the best scene, which is completely unbearable. But here, at the end, he saves her from dying in the middle of that riot. And then that's it. They're never on screen again. What? Maybe either of them should have something to point to what's going to happen next, or we just don't know. I was waiting for her to kiss him at some point. It was just, I don't know. Okay. There's Mon Mothma, which I briefly talked about. Okay, here is Marva. Marva actually has a story arc. She's the idealist. She gives her hologram of her death gives the best speech. She's the one that has a great scene with Andor. I think it's episode 7. She won't go with him after getting that money from the heist. Like, no, my place is here. I'll make my difference here. I've done served my time. It's your time going to be next, and things like that. So I actually liked her character a lot. Here's Luthen. Luthen is treated as the best thing ever, and Luthen is fine. And Stellan Skarsgård is fine. Just be honest, Skarsgård just plays Skarsgård. He has a lot of range. The scene of the entire season, he was transitioning from this version of being like of rebellion guy into being shop owner under the disguise of under the nose of the Empire, where he has to get into character by changing into his robes and puts on a wig and all of them. Why on earth would he go to Ferrix and put himself in a... Does he have any faith in these two girls? They suck so bad that he doesn't want to risk them fumbling the job. Is that what happened? I mean, it makes no sense. And then he has this face off with Andor that he wants dead, and it's like, well, either kill me or bring in. I'm waiting for him to die on Andor and have Andor force him to be, to kill him. Or like I said, I joked with Flaccid Phoenix on their channel. I said, well, he should just be the villain. Let's just do it. Let's have him secretly have been different sacrifices, the one group for the good of the cause, but it's really not. And have an attack. He orchestrated an attack on Mon Mothma's family, but she gets away, or things like that. Because his scenes with Saw Gerrera set up how good Saw Gerrera is. So as Forrest Whitaker, it makes me want more Forrest Whitaker. I'm like, okay. I mean, Luthen is fine. He suddenly is an amazing ace star pilot who has lightsaber extensions on a ship that we were for. Bix is the girl, the love interest, to the point where Andor ignores his friends, people he cares about in this incredible climactic scene to go and save the girl. It's literally like on the level of like Avatar dumb. Like, we're just going to have some crazy thing, but we're going to treat it as though it's great. Just like her torture was. We're going to treat it like it's great because, oh my gosh, can you imagine? They describe this sound. They do whatever. It's the embodiment of show, not tell. It's all the reverse. It's telling us about it, never showing us anything. And if they had tortured the other guy, they drug out of the room and had a lot more of that on camera, it would have been easier to have us understand her scenes. She does great with everything she has to work with as an actress, but then she's basically like a rambling, bumbling zombie for 2.5 to 3 episodes and completely irrelevant to the story. I'm not even sure why she's worth saving at this point. If she's completely useless to pretty much everyone. What else did I not touch on here? Oh, that's the fat bastard guy. This is Vel, irritating little girl boss. She's fine. These are all dead people. These are all dead people. There's the other. That's the other girlfriend. She does kill the Imperial spy. So her and this Imperial spy will work at the same place. She's kind of watching out things for Andor. Other guys looking out for Andor, but they're working for different people. And she kind of pieces together things and kills them. There's Gorn. Okay, so Kino Loy, Andy Serkis, and the prison element was by far the best elements of the show. If I had to cut the season down, I'd probably cut it down at least to 8 episodes, probably 6. But most of the prison stuff is by far the best thing. If we're going to keep the Inspector Karn stuff, then he dies in episode 2, because 1, 2, and 3 can be 2 episodes, or we cut him out completely because we don't really need him. But Andy Serkis goes from being authoritarian informant prisoner, I'm doing what I can do because that's the best path for me to get out of here, to something seriously wrong here. Oh, they're letting this prisoner that I'm befriended to die, to no one gets out, which means I can't get out. Screw this, let's break out, to, oh crap, I can't escape because I don't know how to swim, even if I survive the jump to land. He steals every scene. He's by far the best thing. So why are you white people awake at this hour? No wonder why my people conquered back in the day, or sleep to TP. Man with early bird gets to YouTuber. Listen, bro, it was either that or just do a video and upload it, download it, and all that other nonsense. I'd love to have you in sometime and talk about this crappy show, but I'm assuming you're not subjecting yourself to it. So I'm doing my I watch it so you don't have to video to finish up this, since I was on vacation last week, my friend. And I'm up every day first off, it's already 5. So I'm usually, if I'm not at work, already on my way to work by 5. That's yeah, it's very rare. So only at the farm do I sleep past this time. But yeah, so Andy Serkis was a bright spot of the show. The prison elements are the bright spot of the show. And all of us that made comments about, oh, I wonder what they're making parts for the Death Star. The only thing that would have subverted our expectations would have been if they were making pieces for a Star Destroyer, like a big armada or something like that. They're retrofitting some other pieces, things like that. Not something as kind of on the nose as the credit scene was. But this is all just faceless people. Another quasi girl. This is the Imperial guy. Everybody loves this guy, Major Partagas. I could care absolutely less about Major Partagas. Major Partagas, again, if you don't have your subtitles on, how did you know his name is Major Partagas? The writers don't use names. The writers don't consistently give you the whole universe being built, in my opinion. It's very, very weak. Very, very weak. Hey, Brasso. I actually like Brasso. Brasso is probably an unsung gem in the series because his scenes have purpose. He has a story arc of being a good person and trying to cover for Andor. He interjects things in conversations. He is literally like White Knight in many, many situations. And of course, this big climactic battle with the Stormtroopers. And by the way, the Stormtroopers actually are like hard. The riot scene is really, really good because the Stormtroopers are actually sniping people. But again, they'll snipe someone, and then when the person falls dead, the camera would stay on them for an extra couple of beats because we're supposed to matter and supposed to care. We don't even know who these people are. They're just faceless people of Ferrix. So the show is being exaggerated. There's Saw Gerrera of Forrest Whitaker, who is fantastic. This is the dude who was making the little thing in the finale who basically, I have no idea his name. Actually, even with this list of people who are on Ferrix, I don't know which one's which. He might tell me. And there's chorus of people. That's the driver. If he wasn't in the finale, I probably wouldn't know who he is. This is part of that prison scene, which is really the best part of the entire show, by far. And this is other Imperial, who cares? So here's my final thoughts. If you haven't watched Andor, watch episode 3. Watch the recap in 3, 6, recap in 6. So 3 recap in 3, recap in 6. I don't even remember enough of 7 to tell you what to do. So let's just say you have to watch 7. 8, 9, and 10 are good. There's a lot of slow in there. Just watch your recaps. It builds. Episode 10 is the best episode of the season. I wish I could tell you what to do with 11. You kind of have to plow through. And then the finale. So I can just basically cut that down just in that situation to about 6 to 7 episodes instead of, we don't need, 1, 2, 4, and 5 for sure. You definitely don't need 4 of them. So now you're already down to 8 episodes, and there's a lot less that I could cut out, but I don't even remember because the show is getting positive feedback because Kenobi and Boba Fett before it were so absolute dog crap. It also is something that's different and has a different feel in the Star Wars universe and expands elements that we want to see more of. We enjoy understanding what the Empire was like, and that's why a prequel part can work. But again, there's no main stakes because most of these people are going to be dead, and/or we know when he dies. So if you have scenes with conflict, like we had the prison break scene, we knew he wasn't going to die, right? But how it played out can be a fun and interesting journey. There's not enough aliens in the show. To me, it's fine that there's no Jedi and lightsaber and all of that. It's disappointing, but it's not a must, especially because we're in post Revenge of the Sith, where there's not a lot of Jedi running around, right? So not like we're at a time where there's a bunch of Jedi everywhere. A Force-sensitive person made Rogue One more engaging, but it didn't need to be in the show. But what did need to be in the show was a lot more attention to detail of set design, costume design, and aliens. Like they needed to have some better things that felt Star Wars. Now, it's not a bunch of sand planets. It is filmed on location. It's not in the vault. So, when I give something like this a 5 or a 6, to me, that's still a pretty solid show with my caveats. Like I said, just you don't need to watch 12 hours or however long it is. I'm sure it's closer to like 8 hours of time. Probably closer to 6 because these freaking credits are so long. They have like 6 minutes of credits. In other words, I don't get in the money laundering scheme because I know Mexican Iron Man was here. I know he would agree with me. Anyway, so that's my general thing on Andor. It's not that bad, but it's not as great as everybody says. There's a lot of good moments and a lot of good elements. It's just kind of bundled up in a lot of fat and bloat. And it's like, this is like the first version of what could be trimmed to make something great. And that's what would have happened if this had come out, let's say 10 years ago or something like that, or 15 years ago even. So anyway, that's my thought. I know many of you love the show, and I know many of you are going to have issues with what I say. And you know what? It's okay. Bring your comments. Bring your criticism. Tell me what you think. It's all fine. It's all good in the neighborhood. And with that, I'm out. Andor's out. I'm done. Hope you have a good Christmas and holidays, folks. But your comments are welcome. All that stuff's great. Here's some Bob Ross to help you chill.
Bob Ross, all I do is chill. My life is a thrill, for real, Bob Ross. I be too comfortable.